The story centers around a female Army officer who becomes the first woman to join the U.S. Navy SEAL training. Despite skepticism from her superiors, she defies all expectations by completing the grueling course, while many men fail and drop out. The film begins with a Senate Armed Services Committee interviewing retired Army officer Theodore Hayes for the position of Secretary of the Navy. The discussion focuses on the limited roles given to women in the Navy. Hayes attempts to defend the current policies, but Senator Lillian DeHaven, presiding over the hearing, interrupts his lukewarm justification. DeHaven, a Texas senator, challenges the Navy's stance on women, arguing that their treatment has been historically unfair. To support her argument, she reveals a classified document called the Lark Report. She distributes copies of it to the other committee members and begins reading aloud. The report contains statements from high-ranking Navy officials, highlighting both sexist attitudes and doubts about the competence of female soldiers. The contents of the report create an uproar. Following the heated hearing, the Navy quickly arranges a private meeting with Senator DeHaven. She meets with officials from the Department of Defense, DoD, in her office. These officials, however, are determined to prevent women from joining the Navy and have devised a plan to thwart DeHaven's efforts. They present her with an integration plan, stating that if a woman can pass any evaluation program set by the Navy, they will allow her to serve. DeHaven, aware that this is a trap, where the DoD would select the toughest training program to ensure the female candidate's failure, accepts the offer anyway, knowing that the attention surrounding this initiative would elevate her political career. Outside the Senate office, DoD officials meet with Hayes to discuss which program they should choose for DeHaven's candidate. They settle on the U.S. Navy Combined Reconnaissance Team, CRT program, one of the most difficult courses, where nearly 60% of male candidates quit before the fourth week. The third week, known as Hell Week, is especially brutal. The officials are confident that no woman would make it through even the first week. The scene shifts to a naval satellite monitoring room where Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, a topographic analyst, is working to bring home a SEAL team from an active war zone. The control room has lost contact with the team, and one official suggests sending additional support to extract them. However, this would take 18 minutes as the rescue team would need that much time to reach the prearranged pickup point. O'Neill proposes an alternative, changing the pickup location altogether. She explains that the SEAL team consists of highly skilled soldiers who would likely seek safer exits from the war zone. Therefore, even though direct communication with the team has been lost, they should consider a new rescue point. O'Neill swiftly analyzes the satellite images of the area and identifies a spot that would cut the rescue time in half. Her plan is approved, and after just 9 minutes, the SEAL team reestablishes contact from the exact location she had suggested. The team is rescued, averting a significant disaster. Meanwhile, Senator DeHaven and her team are reviewing potential candidates for the Navy's CRT program. She rejects several candidates, including a triathlete for being too lean and a champion powerlifter for being too muscular, almost resembling a man. DeHaven wants a female candidate who fits the traditional image of femininity, as she aims to prove that any woman can join the Navy without needing to appear overly strong. Her attention is drawn to Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, an accomplished Olympic triathlon contender with a strong academic background. O'Neill fits DeHaven's ideal of a traditionally feminine woman. After a busy day at work, Lieutenant O'Neill meets with her fiancé, Lieutenant Commander Royce Harper, who serves as an operational officer for the Navy. He congratulates her on successfully handling the crisis, but advises her not to get too deeply involved, reminding her that she is an intelligence officer, not a soldier. Just as they are talking, O'Neill receives an urgent call asking her to meet with Senator DeHaven. In the following scene, Senator DeHaven presents O'Neill with the papers for the CRT program and explains the significance of her participation. She tells O'Neill that if she completes the training, it will pave the way for women to join the Navy in combat roles. That night, O'Neill returns home and discusses the opportunity with her fiancé, Royce. However, he is not particularly supportive of the idea. He raises several concerns, including the extreme difficulty of the Navy CRT program, which could leave O'Neill with long-term physical injuries. Additionally, she will have to train and live alongside men who might objectify her. Royce also points out that if she succeeds, she could be deployed for extended periods, and he admits he may not have the patience to wait for her during such a long separation. O'Neill is deeply hurt by her fiancé's remarks feeling as though he is undermining both her abilities and their relationship. Now more determined than ever to prove herself, she enlists in the CRT program. A few days later, she arrives at the training center. The commanding officer assigns her a separate room, away from the dorm where the male trainees sleep. Word quickly spreads that a woman has joined the program, and the male trainees are not pleased. That evening, when O'Neill goes to the mess hall for dinner, she is met with scorn and misogynistic comments from several men. The following day, the rigorous training officially begins. The commanding officer reminds everyone that most of them won't make it through the third week. The trainees are then handed over to Command Master Chief John Ergale, their primary training supervisor. Ergale is an imposing figure, and he appears indifferent to O'Neill's presence in the group. While inspecting the uniforms, he recites a D.H. Lawrence poem, Self-Pity, subtly telling them all not to indulge in self-pity. The first lesson focuses on carrying military-grade boats to the sea and quickly dismounting from them. The rest of the training is just as demanding, testing their physical endurance. Throughout the grueling exercises, Master Chief John taunts the trainees, urging them to quit and spare themselves more suffering. At the front of the training yard, he has placed a bell, which anyone wishing to quit must ring 3 times. Although O'Neill is not treated differently by Ergale, she cannot escape the sexist remarks from her fellow trainees. At night, things become even more intense. The trainees are given only 4 minutes to eat their dinner. They rush to the kitchen and fight to get food on their plates. However, just as they start to eat, the trainers yell at them to return to the training grounds. They are forced to throw their food into garbage cans and continue the exercises on empty stomachs. This extreme routine continues into the next day, with training lasting from morning until night. The soldiers are made to endure freezing seawater before being medically evaluated. Only after that are they allowed to eat the same food they had previously thrown away. In the chaos, O'Neill sneaks a piece of bread into her pocket and quickly eats the cold food. After dinner, Command Master Chief John gives them a new task: to write an essay on why they want to join the U.S. Navy. But the test is not as straightforward as it seems. As the exhausted and hungry soldiers try to focus on writing, John plays soothing opera music in an attempt to lull them to sleep. Those who fall asleep during the test are immediately dismissed from the camp. O'Neill, however, takes a bite of the bread she had hidden earlier, which helps her stay awake during the challenge. 15 minutes later, Master Chief John re-enters the room and orders the trainees back out to the training yard to run an obstacle course. This course includes live fire exercises, making it especially dangerous. O'Neill is informed that she will be provided a platform to help her jump over certain obstacles. She protests, insisting on being treated the same as everyone else. However, her objections are overruled, as military regulations state that the obstacle heights for female cadets must be lower than for their male counterparts. During the course, John watches as O'Neill refuses to use the platforms, tackling each hurdle just like her male teammates. At one point, on a wall-climbing obstacle, she helps her teammates by letting them climb on her back to get over the wall. Despite her efforts to work together, her teammates refuse to help her in return, leaving her to climb alone. Their disdain for having a woman in what they view as a male-dominated environment is clear. Meanwhile, the relentless 20-hour, a-day training begins to break down the mental and physical strength of several soldiers. One by one, more trainees quit. But to everyone's surprise, O'Neill continues to push through, showing resilience despite the extreme conditions. However, O'Neill is still bothered by the fact that she was given a platform to make the obstacle course easier for her. Determined to be treated equally, she approaches the commanding officer to request that she receive the same treatment as her male counterparts. Instead of listening, the officer dismisses her with sexist remarks, making it clear that he resents having a woman in the camp. Frustrated by this treatment, O'Neill takes matters into her own hands. She visits a barbershop and cuts off her hair, shedding her feminine appearance. Afterward, she packs up her belongings from her separate room and moves into the communal hall where the male trainees sleep. Her presence there, especially with her tampons, is met with discomfort and resistance from many of the men. Command Master Chief John notices O'Neill's bold move and is clearly not pleased with her decision to integrate herself with the male trainees. The scene abruptly shifts back to Hayes, who has now been appointed as the Secretary of the Navy. He and other officials from the Department of Defense are displeased with the news that O'Neill has survived 3 weeks in the camp. Despite the program being secret, Her success has made its way into the public eye, with media outlets dubbing her G.I. Jane, as they are unaware of her real name. Back at the training facility, conditions have become even more intense, but G.I. Jane O'Neill continues to hold her ground. Determined to prove all the sexist men wrong, O'Neill now pushes herself even harder in training. Her efforts pay off as she becomes visibly more muscular, shedding a significant amount of body fat. Meanwhile, the media is eager to get a story on G.I. Jane, the tough woman who has endured the grueling Navy training. One day, while O'Neill is showering alone, Command Master Chief John enters with an important update. The senior-most member of her team has been hospitalized due to a fractured leg, leaving O'Neill as the most experienced member and thus the new team leader. Elsewhere, Department of Defense officials and Secretary Hayes are frustrated by O'Neill's resilience, as she has surpassed their expectations by surviving Hell Week and competing alongside the men. However, they remain hopeful that she will give up during the SEER phase, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training. The SEER phase arrives, and the trainees are dropped from a plane into an unknown location. Their objective is to reach a target, gather intelligence, and retreat without being captured. Unlike a simple fitness test, SEER is designed to simulate real-world conditions. If a trainee is caught or requests early extraction, they will be treated like a real prisoner of war. Unfortunately, during the exercise, 2 of O'Neill's team members disobey her orders and are captured. Another teammate fractures his leg while rushing to safety. In an attempt to assist him, O'Neill also ends up getting captured. Though they are just trainees, the officers do not provide any leniency, and the soldier with a broken leg is tortured for information on the remaining team's locations, essentially forcing him to quit. When it's O'Neill's turn, she is interrogated by none other than Command Master Chief John. With her hands bound behind her, John begins to beat her relentlessly. When another training officer expresses concern that the violence is going too far, John dismisses him, ordering him to leave. John then grabs O'Neill by the head and slams her through a door. In front of the others, he proceeds to drown her in ice-cold water, subjecting her to extreme torture to pressure her teammates into revealing information about the other teams. Despite the pain, O'Neill urges her teammates to remain silent. Taking the torment further, John attempts to pull down her pants, claiming that this kind of violation could occur in real-life situations. Suddenly, O'Neill retaliates and strikes John between his legs. She then delivers 2 powerful kicks to his body, but John quickly recovers and knocks her out. He approaches her teammates, justifying his actions by claiming he's doing it to make her understand that she isn't meant for fighting. Hearing this, O'Neill fires back, telling John to kiss her backside. All the male trainees cheer for O'Neill, and even shout for the command master to do the same. By turning a group of mismatched soldiers into a unified team, O'Neill finally earns John's respect. The news of O'Neill passing the SEER training reaches Senator DeHaven, who is thrilled by the achievement. O'Neill's display of courage has earned her respect from her peers, and they now treat her as an equal and a friend. One day, while out on the beach with her female friends, someone secretly takes pictures of her. These photos are later sent to higher-ups, and O'Neill is questioned about her sexual orientation. She is accused of bringing disgrace to the organization by being photographed with other female officers during training. As a result, she is told she must leave the training program while the matter is investigated. O'Neill wants to continue her training and suspects that someone is trying to sabotage her. However, she is informed that she can only rejoin the program after being cleared, meaning she would have to start from the beginning, rendering all her efforts so far meaningless. Frustrated and angry at how things are being handled, O'Neill rings the bell 3 times, signaling her voluntary withdrawal from the program. She then returns home to her fiancé, who reveals shocking news. The anonymous photographs were sent from Senator DeHaven's office, the very person who had supported her success in the name of women's empowerment. It turns out the senator was using O'Neill to boost her own political standing. She wanted O'Neill to succeed just enough to intimidate her male counterparts, but when O'Neill was about to pass, DeHaven used her as a bargaining tool with the Navy to prevent the closure of military bases in her home state of Texas. Even when O'Neill confronts the senator about the situation, the senator pretends to know nothing. However, later on, Senator Lillian admits that she used O'Neill for political favors. After hearing the truth from the senator herself, O'Neill threatens to expose her. She's not afraid to go to the press and reveal how the senator exploited a woman to further her career. With that, O'Neill returns to training, where her peers welcome her back warmly. The final phase of training is about to begin when it's interrupted by an emergency requiring the immediate support of the CRT trainees. An observation satellite powered by weapons-grade plutonium has fallen into the Libyan desert. A team of U.S. Army Rangers had been sent to retrieve the plutonium, but their evacuation plan failed. Now, the trainees are deployed to assist the Rangers with their evacuation. During the mission, O'Neill is almost spotted by a Libyan soldier. To protect her, John shoots the soldier, but this action exposes their presence. Now, the Libyan patrol is aware of the U.S. military's presence, and a confrontation between the two sides erupts. John is forced to separate from his team. When O'Neill examines the map, she realizes that Master Chief John is not taking the route the others expect him to follow for regrouping. This means he's heading in the wrong direction and is in serious danger. O'Neill steps up to take control of the situation. Demonstrating strong leadership and strategic skills, she leads the rescue of the injured Master Chief with the help of her teammate McCool. Together, they pull him out of a dangerous explosives-laden zone. Soon after, backup arrives along with helicopter gunships, which launch the final assault, ensuring the mission's success. Everyone involved in the mission is accepted into the CRT. In the final scene, Command Master Chief John James Ergale awards O'Neill his Navy Cross and gives her a book of poetry containing the short poem Self-Pity by D.H. Lawrence as a token of recognition for her accomplishment and gratitude for saving his life.